With the Seahawks set to kick off OTAs this week, they'll get their first opportunity to see their new 11-player draft class alongside veterans in the final phase of their offseason program. What should we expect from this new class of draft picks? We've got a special member of the front office set to join us to break that group down, coming up here on our Monday edition of Locked On Seahawks.
You are Locked On Seahawks, your daily Seattle Seahawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, 12. This is Corbin Smith, host of the Locked On Seahawks podcast, your daily Seahawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Glad to be joined, as always, by my co-host in crime, Rob Rang. And a special thanks to all the 12s who are listening in, whether you're in Ellensburg, Washington, or down in Phoenix, Arizona. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you for making Locked On Seahawks your first listen 5 days a week. We're fired up to bring on the show as a special guest one of the architects of the Seahawks 2025 draft class, Assistant General Manager Nolan Teasley. Nolan, thanks for joining the show. I know Rob and I are both very appreciative to have you on the show to share some insight on this draft class.
No, happy to be here, guys. Thanks for the time. Let's get to work. Excited.
We're excited as well, Nolan. Thank you again. So let's just jump into it. Seahawks fans, of course, know you now as the Assistant General Manager of the franchise. But can you give us a quick rundown? How did you go from a Central Washington University graduate to being one of the franchise's key scouts under John Schneider?
Yeah, I mean, I think the route is similar to a lot of people. I started as an intern, lucky enough to get the opportunity through Aaron Heinlein, who I played with at Central Washington University. He kind of introduced me to it. Went through an interview process, lucky enough to start as an intern going into the 2013 season, and then just kind of tried to keep my head down, work, learn, keep an open mind, and kind of progressed here, and lucky enough to be in the role that I am now.
Nolan, you are going to be breaking down this draft class for us. Before we get to the players, though, in terms of what we've got on the field, how they're going to be helping this team, what you envision from them, is there a memorable story that you can give us behind the scenes as far as your interactions with players during the draft process? Is there one that jumps out to you that stands out during your time with the Seahawks, or even in just the last couple of years when you've had this new role, this new title as the Assistant General Manager?
I always go recent, Corbin, just because I guess that's just what's floating around in my brain at the moment. Yeah, it would be. We got to spend some good time with Nick Emmanwori when he came in for a 30 visit, and it was just kind of intrigued by everything that you heard about who he is. Obviously the skill set, we'll get into that, but his passion, his competitiveness became apparent through that process. His football intelligence, and then our first exposure to Riley Mills at the Combine. I didn't sit in on the interview, but watching it later, watching him interact with our coaches. His football intelligence, his passion for ball was really apparent. The way that he interacted with the defensive side of the ball, it became apparent that he was someone that we would probably key in on through this process, and led to me sitting down with Auden Durde, our defensive coordinator, and studying him a little bit more in depth, and kind of remember that process and learning a lot from how he evaluated the player and what his vision for the player was. So those two things stick out probably with those two players. It was when I started to get excited about both of those prospects.
Well, it's not entirely surprising, Nolan. The Seahawks would be drafting a player from South Carolina, from Notre Dame, of course. Those are Power 5 schools, had a lot of production, and that seems like that has been one of the kind of the standard strategies that the Seahawks have employed during your time, during John Schneider's time. But it was a little bit surprising to see you go outside of that so-called Power 5 box there with the selection North Dakota State's Grace Abel. when did you, start to kind of hone in on Zabel as being a good fit for the Seahawks? And do you believe that, or why do you believe that he was the correct fit for this club?
Yeah, I would go back to the Senior Bowl, and I think Mike and John have kind of alluded to that as well. Trent Kirshner, I think, has spoke to it. Watching him steal reps and compete and just kind of fit the bill and fit the mold and look like he fit right in regardless of the level of competition. He shows up there in Mobile ready to compete against the best and had a great week. So that's kind of that first time that you start thinking about, okay, where's this player going to be available? You understand the premium that's put on offensive line play, and understanding that that's probably where he would need to be acquired within that range. And why was he the right player? I mean, you go back to the level of competition. I understand that. You have to take it into consideration. But this is a guy that played across the line. He played left tackle that last year. And when you evaluate a player at a lower level of competition, you want him to dominate, and he did just that. And then he continued to check boxes and progress through the process. And so when we got to 18, it was pretty clear that it was a good selection. We're happy that he's here.
And just John was alluding to us after the draft concluded, or after at least day 2, there was talk about potentially moving up to get Nick Emmanwori on day 1 and maybe get him at the end of the first round. So to be able to get him at pick number 35, that was really something John Schneider had not done that early in the draft, to move up like that. But a bold move to go get a safety that you had experience with in the pre-draft meetings that clearly impressed the entire coaching staff, the front office. What has you so excited about this kid beyond just the athleticism? We know the off-the-charts testing that he had in Indianapolis, but what excites you about this kid, and how do you compare him to the rest of this safety class? How did he stand out in your eyes compared to the rest of the safeties in this group?
I mean, it was a good class. What Nick did within the visit, I think we talked about his passion, his football intelligence. If I'm not allowed to talk about the athlete, Corbin, then that's one of the that's one of the things that helps him stand out. His versatility, kind of how he fits with the rest of this defensive core. I mean, the vision that the coaching staff had for him, to be as physically imposing as he is with his height, weight, speed, his size and length, but still be able to have man-to-man coverage skill, I think is pretty rare. And so, his versatility is going to fit really well within the rest of the group, and it'll be exciting to see what that coaching staff does with that skill set.
Nolan, one of the things that, it's been a struggle for me, just balancing so many different gigs, so to speak, is that I have not been able to go to the Senior Bowl and for the last couple of years. And I had a 20-year run there where I was going every single year. And it is interesting to see how the Seahawks have focused a lot of attention on prospects from the Senior Bowl. You just mentioned Gray Zabel, for example. In having conversations with people who were in Mobile, it sounded like Elijah Arroyo was the most dominant pass catcher, whether tight end or wide receiver. How much did his performance at the Senior Bowl really just kind of boost his stock with you and the rest of the Seahawks scouts, or were you guys already enamored with his ability?
You're certainly aware of a prospect of that caliber going into Mobile. When you're that big, you're not supposed to run that fast. You're not supposed to have that type of route skill. And he showed up. He had a great week, both in the one-on-one sessions and the team sessions. So just going through it, it's really 1 year production. So that might have had something to do with being at 50, but that skill set is elite, and we're excited to see kind of what he's going to be able to do in this system.
Another guy that you guys were able to watch in Mobile was Jalen Milroe, the quarterback out of Alabama, who has picked 92. Another player with off-the-charts athleticism, 32 rushing touchdowns the last 2 years, sub 4.4 speed. But from a quarterback context, what jumped out to you as far as him being a field general and his passing ability that fits with Klint Kubiak's offense? Because I think that's probably the biggest question that draft pundits, fans, you name it, probably have coming into this process with Jalen Milroe, is how he fits from that perspective in an NFL offense.
Yeah. When you meet him, like his efficacy, his just his personality, his natural charisma, he's a born leader. So you really no concerns about from a field general standpoint. A special kid, and that he's got a high level work ethic. So whatever the perceived limitations are, that he's gonna pour into it and try to develop those perceived shortcomings. And then physically on the field, obviously a talented deep ball thrower, powerful arm, and then the ability to get to the second play, which is really important in our league. And then in terms of the offense, this is an offense that keeps the offense on schedule. It's an efficient run game, and it provides high percentage throws in the keeper game, in play action. And I think he fits really well in that while he, develops as a quarterback in this system. Yeah, we're excited about it. It's good stuff. It's going to be good to see where he goes, where he takes it.
When we return to our Memorial Day edition of Locked On Seahawks, we're going to continue chatting with Nolan Teasley about the rest of Seattle's 2025 draft class. Don't go away. You're listening to the Locked On Seahawks podcast. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal finance. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on pizza delivery. Now I'm trying to budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDINNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDINNFL for half off your first year.
I 100% in agreement with that. With Jalen Milroe, I mean, obviously you have a quarterback that just has a different skill set than so many of the quarterbacks that we have seen in Seattle in the past. I want to ask you a little bit about Riley Mills, and you mentioned him about just his mind and his passion for the game. And when you and defensive coordinator Adam Durde stepped down and kind of did some of your tape of him and reviewed the meetings with him, can you just kind of talk about where you feel Riley Mills is fitting in on Seattle's defensive line? I would argue that Seattle has one of the strongest sets of starting defensive linemen in the league, but at the same time, there is some concern perhaps about depth. Do you believe that Riley Mills is a future starter in the NFL, whether it be in 2025 or in the future?
Yeah, we're excited about Riley. I'm going to sound redundant. You're going to keep hearing me talk about versatility, and he has it. The ability to align up and down that defensive front. Yeah, certainly he can become a starter, especially with our coaching staff's ability to develop. But Coach Hines and again AD, they do a great job. But you touched on it from a depth standpoint. Guys, we want to rotate. We want to keep these guys fresh, and then when we're in high leverage situations, we want them to play their best football. So starter or not, he's going to play impact snaps, and the current roster as is could have bled into the decision or the comfort level of taking a player that's still recovering from an injury and not having to rush him back onto the field. Yeah, it gives us that confidence that we can implement a plan and be strategic about how we go about it and when he comes back on the field, and we don't have to feel rushed or pressured to do anything that's not the best for the athlete.
Versatility is the theme of this draft. At least that's my opinion. It's the theme of the draft, even at the quarterback position, a guy that can do so many different things. You have two other offensive linemen that the Seahawks drafted on day 3. Bryce Cabledew, Mason Richmond were both tackles at the college level. And one of them right now is going to be sliding into guard. Richmond's going to stay at tackle for now. John Schneider made it sound like he could move inside potentially, though. With the way college offenses have changed, even in the last couple of years, the way that we're seeing evolution in the systems that are being ran, is it easier or more challenging to try to envision a tackle playing inside at the next level in the NFL? And how critical is it in that for you? What system that they play in that process?
Yeah, I think offensive line play at the college level is difficult to project across the board. I mean, just simply because of the style of offenses that you see in the college game compared to pro style. Now Riley comes from a pedigree that's a system that implements some elements of a pro system, so there's some familiarity there, and seeing him do that. And then Bryce, I mean, there's going to be some technique development that he's going to have to do, but he's a talented athlete. He's been a productive pass protector on the edge, so we're comfortable with how he's going to project inside, how he's going to develop, and the caliber of coaching that he's going to get within this system. So not too concerned about what that looks like, and confident in the direction that they're both headed. And again, Riley's going to start a tackle, but listen, within the system and these coaching staffs, Rico and JB and JO and Q, there's a slew of abbreviations and initials coming at you guys within that offensive line coaching staff. But they're going to get we're going to move guys around because football being a war of attrition, you got to have depth and you got to have flexibility and the ability to kind of move some parts and pieces across the board. So that background at tackle, moving inside, is really it's a virtue. It's as opposed to finding it as difficult to project.
Well, that kind of leads me into the next question I had, Nolan. Is about that depth and flexibility, versatility of the wide receiver core. You of course make the day 3 selections of two of my favorite wideouts in this class, not only because of what they provide as far as pass catchers, and Torrey Horton and Ricky White III, but also because of their special teams ability. And I know that Seahawks fans, of course, are excited to see these rookies, competing against a Cooper Kupp or a Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I wonder if perhaps the best avenue for immediate success as rookies is going to be on special teams. How much did the special teams success that these two players have go into your guys' evaluation and ultimate selection of these two players?
Yeah, Rob, you nailed it. I mean, the kicking game, the third phase is going to be something that we put a lot of emphasis on. It truly is. Again, it's a third of the game. It's something that we value, and their contributions are part of the evaluation across the board, top to bottom. I mean, we're going to be hoping that we get contributions from Nick and Elijah as well. So. Just to sum it up, it's part of it, but they're also talented receivers in their own right. Ricky is an innate playmaker, and then Torrey's a really talented athlete. We're very excited to see what he can do as an offensive player as well. But certainly, the best way for a lot of young players, the quickest way for them to make an impact at times is in the kicking game, and we're confident in their ability to do so, and excited to see what they do as we kind of progress through the offseason and we move toward training camp.
Whether he was in Corvallis or Coral Gables, Damian Martinez thrived in multiple systems, multiple leagues at the college level, 6 yards per carry for his college career. When you look at his skill set, how does he stack up as far as compare and contrast with the other backs already on the roster? Ken Walker III, Kenny McIntosh, Zach Charbonnet, George Halani. And what does he bring to the table that makes him unique from the rest of this group?
Yeah, we're excited about that room, right? You touched on some pretty good football players there. K9 has done some really exciting things in this league. Zach stepped in and been productive when tasked with being a bulk ball carrier for us. And then Kenny Mack, I think he showed some really impressive flashes at the end of the season. George was productive through the preseason, got a couple of looks in the regular season. He does some good things in the kicking game. So, in terms of, it's going to be a competitive group. What he does, what we've seen him in the system in Corvallis, right? Running 18-19, being just a big, square, heavy, one-cut downhill runner. That's a good fit to start, and we'll kind of see where he takes it, and we'll see him push him and compete, and kind of see the way that it comes once we have to make decisions at roster time.
Nolan, of course, when you do have to make those decisions at roster time, that can be a tough day. We're seeing so many players that have done everything they possibly can to make an NFL roster, and sometimes it just isn't a fit for this particular franchise. But rather than kind of end at least my questions on more of a down note, I want to kind of shift back to just more of a positive note. Can you just, other than game day, obviously you've been with the franchise and experienced massive victories here. Can you just kind of give us a peek behind the curtain a little bit as far as what is one of your favorite non-game day memories as a member of the Seattle Seahawks?
Non-game day. I always feel really blessed to do what I do, and I kind of tell people I haven't worked a day in my life since I started with the Seattle Seahawks. So, and I didn't have any kids when I started. Now I have four. I have four boys: Cruz, Jax, Jude, Nash, and so having them come to work with me at times and run amok and tear this building apart, run around on the fields. Those are core memories. When my wife Morgan is able to bring them onto the field or during training camp, those are bright days. Those are fun days. So I'd have to go with that.
Nolan, we greatly appreciate having you on the show. You're going to have to be careful with the kids because you're going to have to do the offensive line abbreviations pretty soon with those, get all the names in there. But we appreciate having you on, and best of luck. Hopefully get to enjoy a little bit of downtime here post-draft before you have to start getting back into the nitty-gritty preparing for next season.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. A little bit of rest and relaxation is coming, but listen, like we said, we're sitting here, the sun's out. We got guys running around the field playing football. It's not a bad way to spend your day, but appreciate the time, guys.